There goes that man. There goes that man. There goes those men when men stand up to fight for what's right.
The greatest American alive.
The life of the party. The life of the party. I should have almost died. I should have almost died when I lost custody of my children. Tell the truth and get some power. I almost ended my own life when I lost custody of my children. My whole life, Project Daddy only wanted to be a father. That's it. I asked the Almighty Creator for 3 sons, got 3 sons, and then legislation took my 3 sons away from me. And once I lost my 3 children, I was lost. I had no idea where to go, so I went to YouTube, the second most powerful search engine on the planet. I searched paternal separation, couldn't find anything. I was trying to find a community of individuals who were going through the exact same heartache that I was going through. I wondered, why in the world would American men ever give up their rights to their children? Why in the world would American men ever allow legislation to be passed to take away their fatherhood, to take away their paternal rights? I couldn't understand this. I couldn't fathom this. And as I searched for information, I didn't find anything. I knew there were a whole bunch of men going through the exact same thing that I was going through, and I wanted to have better conversations. I wanted to understand how in the world we can allow people not to have access to their children. How in the world can we destroy their family? I wondered how I could still be financially responsible for a family that I'm not a part of. Every older gentleman that I talked to, they said it's just a way of life. Child support is and will always be a way of life. And I was like, man, in my lifetime, I've seen some powerful movements. I've seen the LGBTQ plus movement come, and I've seen how powerful they were when they worked together to get some power. When they told the truth about their real life experiences, they were able to galvanize and get legislation to push their ideology forward. And as men separated from their children, as men who are financially invested in an institution that they're not a part of, I was hit with the realization that the world looks crazy when strong men don't use their strength for good. The world looks crazy when strong men allow bad things to happen in their community. When strong men allow their nation to be destroyed by ideology that says the father isn't necessary in his own home. I know what mission accomplishment looks like. I know how powerful it is when men work together with a common goal. And so for every felon, for every veteran, for every man who's unemployed, for every man who's underemployed, for every man who's paying child support in America,
the question today is, out of the many Asians, the many Arabs, the many Native Americans, the many blacks, the many people of color who populate this country, do you mean for them to be made into the one? If so, truth has to be spoken to justice.
Tell the truth and get some power. I am a debt slave to a woman who does not want me and a child that doesn't know me. If the custody order works perfectly, I might see my children 100 days out the year. I might see my children 100 days out of the year if the custody agreement is followed to the T. To think about it, man, I only get 1/3 of the time with my children. That means that everyone in the world has more influence on my biological children than myself. The United States government will give money to everybody except for biological fathers to take care of their own children. We need to incentivize families. We need to incentivize fatherhood, because if we don't include the biological father in the family structure in America, America's going to crumble.
Union means bringing elements or components into unity. It is something formed by uniting 2 or more things. It is a number of persons, states, etc., which are joined or associated together for some common purpose. We're not here to tear down America. America is tearing itself down. We are here to rebuild the wasted cities.
We can see it right now. It is evident through the ideology that we're not raising strong people with the resilience, the determination, or with the ability to fight for freedom. We are giving up our freedom. We are giving up our God-given rights. There is no right that is stronger, more God-given, more inalienable than being a parent. But somehow, for some reason, American men will not stand up and fight for their biological rights.
Rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God.
Woo! And that's scary to me. I've seen too many powerful movements in America not to believe that American men can come and get their parental rights back. I've seen too many powerful movements in America for me not to understand that the American man can demolish this whole entire child support system in the blink of an eye. I mean, so quickly.
We confess our failures to live up to the potential that you have given us. We have failed ourselves and our people. We have been slothful in our duties, uncaring in our work, and weak in our resolve to live according to your will for us. Grant us forgiveness and renew our minds and our spirits, that henceforth we shall be for this nation a beacon light of righteousness.
All we have to do is say, no, you're not going to take away my children and take away my money simultaneously, and say, be a man. Just be a man. Yes, I will just be a man. I will stand up for myself and I'll tell you, no, you're not going to take advantage of me. I'm a human person with biological rights just like every other person on the planet, and I will fight for and die for those same human rights that you have. Questions? Next question? The 10 Million Man March coming to a city near you. The 10 Million Man March coming to a city near you. The greatest American alive.
The greatest American alive.
Right now in America, there are at least 10 million men who do not have a job and have not had a job for 2 years. There are men in America who've been pushed out of the workforce through child support and through having a felony. Having a felony and paying child support almost eliminates you from the job market. You cannot go to work every day and make enough money to sustain yourself. When we know that we have an economic and political system that's standing on top of men.
Rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God.
No, you're not going to stand on top of me and say that you're tall. We're not going to allow this to happen anymore. And so when 10 million American men, I'm talking about the most peaceful movement the world has ever seen, when 10 million fathers stand together for their parental rights and say that no longer are you going to financially oppress me. I'm going to raise my children financially and morally and develop them mentally however I see fit, because these are my babies, and no one in America loves my children more than I love my children, because I'm willing to fight for and die for these children. The American man has proven this time after time. For every conflict that has ever existed, American men have put their lives on the line to defend American people. And then to come home and to have my parental rights stripped away from me, it doesn't make any sense. I will not tolerate it. And it's up to you, the greatest American alive, to make a stand and say, I will not tolerate this nonsense either.
Rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God.
The 10 Million Man March, the 10 Million Man March coming to a city near you. When men work together, that is true power, and can't no institution, can't no organization stand when true power comes through the door. They say, oh hell, here comes that power. There goes that man. There goes that man. There goes those men when men stand up to fight for what's right. Oh my goodness. When good men don't do what needs to be done, the world looks crazy. And all of a sudden, when good men stand up and start doing good work, the world looks so beautiful. I hope that every American man who's paying child support, if you are a felon, if you're unemployed, if you're underemployed, I don't care about any of the ugly names that they call the American man. That's just terminology to try to shame you so you don't come and get the power that you rightfully deserve. As a father, as a powerful person in the most powerful nation the world has ever seen. And this nation is only powerful because you make this powerful. You, the greatest American alive.
The greatest American alive.
If you don't fight these wars, if you don't fight these fires, if you don't respond to 911 calls, if you do not do the work that needs to be done in America, there is no America. If American men don't do this work, there is no America. And when you have strong men out here doing this work, you reward them, you incentivize them to continue to do good. You do not hit American men with perpetual punishment. You don't just sit there and just beat them upside their head. Go to prison, lose your kids, go to prison, lose your kids, go to prison, lose your kids. You cannot continue to bop the American man upside their head and act like everything's gonna be okay. The 10 Million Man March is coming to a city near you. The most powerful movement the world has ever seen. When the American dad starts marching on these streets, the 10 Million Man March. to come and get his kids, to come and get his family, to come and tell the American government that you no longer have control over my babies. No one in America loves my children more than I love my children. The fight for right is coming to a city near you. I'm trying to tell you the 10 million man march. I gotta say it like 10 million times for it to get stuck in your dome, for you to understand that if you don't do what's necessary, if you don't do this work, then our future generations, my sons, will not have the ability to raise their children. Every American man deserves the right to raise his children the way he sees fit. The American government does not control the ideology of my children.
Rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God.
You do not have the power to control my babies. And since you have this illusion in your mind that thinks that you can control the American man through legislation,
you must use the female against the male. And you must use the male against the female. You must use the dark-skinned slave against the light-skinned slave. And the light-skinned slave against the dark-skinned slave. You must also have your white servants and overseers distrust all blacks. But it is necessary that your slaves trust and depend on us. They must love, respect, and trust only us. Gentlemen, these keys are your keys to control.
It's time for you to get a wake-up call. 10 million man march. Hey, coming to a city near you. Yes, it's time for America to see real power. Real power. Assertive, non-aggressive. Assertive, non-aggressive. Colin Powell said sweet strength. Assertive, non-aggressive. When I come and I make a statement that says, I want my children, I want my family, and I want you to take your hand out of my pocket. And that's the end of the discussion. This is mine. These sweet, beautiful babies are mine. And that's it. Wherever you're watching this from, go ahead and screen record it and share it, because this information is just too powerful. There are people who don't want you to be powerful. And the only way that we can get this power is if we do this work. The work is to share the information to let every man know, if you're unemployed, if you're underemployed, if you're a felon, if you're a veteran, if you're out here paying child support, it's time for you to stand up for your human rights and say that you're not going to have a financial incentive to punish me. You're going to stop punishing the American man and allow me to do my thing. Allow me to be the father that I was designed to be. Allow me to be the man that God created me to be.
But you have gathered here at the call of God, for it is only the call of Almighty God, no matter through whom that call came, that could generate this kind of outpouring. God called us here to this place.
Without you trying to control me like I'm a puppet. I am not your puppet. I am a free person. The American man is a free person. And it's time for the American person to come and get this power. Share this video. If you see the Cash App on the screen, $PJDDY, fund the 10 million man march. $PJDDY, fund the 10 million man march. What's better than 1 million men? 10. What's better than 1 million men? 10. The 10 million man march. The 10 million man march coming to a city near you, because American men are parents too. American men are human beings too. We have human rights just like you, the greatest American alive. You are the greatest American alive.
The greatest American alive. The greatest American alive. The greatest American alive. The greatest American alive. The greatest American